Michael Winter, as the producer-director of Hannibal Brooks, you have cast two of the finest young actors in any part of the world, namely Oliver Reed and Michael Pollard. What observations do you make when you think and work with the American actor and the English actor together?
Well, on the whole, the American actor is trained more for films and the English actor is trained for stage and sort of drifts into films. But it isn't really true in this case because Oliver Reed was trained for films. So I don't really make any observations. I just sort of sit back and say action and hope for the best. And if I'm called upon, then I make an observation if I feel it's necessary.
Let me ask you something. Are you the tough director that you hear about? I mean, when you say something, does everybody stop?
Well, I hope they don't, not if I tell them to go. I hope not, anyway.
I do the gags here.
Well, I beg your pardon.
It's the truth. I watch you work. And you hear this all the time. I've done, in my professional career, I've been a director and a producer, and you never know quite with any particular group when you're working with them whether you ought to really put that hard rock surface on, or if you can move with them nicely and gently and get what you want also. Is this particular group a hard rock surface or a...
Well, I think that depends on the group, as you say. I think you have to get the film done, and we do work very quickly, and we do a great deal in time, and depending on whether your unit want to do it in the time, you either make them or let them do it and watch cheerfully.
Well?
Mr. Winter, we watched many technical things today, but among them was the explosion. And here again, in the setting of a restaurant with the atmosphere, it's interesting to see how involved you can get, especially with technicality. Now, today it was rainy when you shot an explosion scene, but other days I understand it's sunny. Does it make any difference in putting a film together, the background and the weather, to you?
Well, it does. I mean, in the old days, people only used to shoot when the sun was shining, but life is not lived with the sun always shining. We shot in rain today because it was raining, and we'd shot on Saturday in rain, so it matched. You very rarely see rain on the screen, so it won't look as if it was raining when that film is on the screen, but it will not look as if the sun was shining. I don't think that matters. The colours are quite interesting without the sun shining. They have a certain quality of their own. And, you know, it went well with our explosions, which were very bright and stood out against a rather softer day.
I meant to ask you something. Is that one of your keynotes, explosions? There's something you get your jollies with?
Well, I don't know I get my jollies with them.
They were beautiful, by the way. They were beautiful enough for this young lady to fall right on her coccyx. Is that the word?
Oh, dear.
Yes,
Well, now the whole world knows.
Oh, they should know. It was such a realistic and wonderful...
It was real explosives.
It was a real explosive. So they put it this, it was real explosives, and everybody was carried away, and she was carried even further because she's smaller.
Well, I'm glad that at least it was realistic enough for a casualty. And it wasn't too serious a casualty to the young lady's here.
Mr. Winter, if we can get away from the clinical discussion for a moment, I'd like to get back to motion pictures. Have you seen the Thomas Crown Affair?
No, I haven't seen it yet, I'm afraid.
You are aware, though, of the multiple image...
Yes.
What do you think of that technique?
Well, I think with any film you have to be very careful that the technique fits the story, if there is a story. You know, some films today are impressionistic films. You can use technique and split the screen up a million ways, and it's fine. But if you're telling, I think, a human story where the characters and the events are important, I think it can be very distracting to have too much technique, because you're rarely saying none of these are real people. They're people that we can split up and put 60 images of them on the screen and do all sorts of clever things.
Or technique for technique's
Yes,
sake.
I think it doesn't always fit. You know, it depends on the film. Depends on the film.
You know, today it's been called a new age in British filmmaking, and something new that is sweeping the whole world, really, because it is a legend that the British young people have become a new form of filmmaking. You're a part of that group. You're very young. But do you agree with this philosophy or theory?
Well, I think that America's always made very good films, but it did, during a certain period, tend to repeat itself too often, and something new had to happen, and it did happen in Europe. I think it happened first in France with a new wave, and it was then taken up and I think improved in England. Well, I'm English, I have to say.
May I suggest that even further back, the Italians with open
The Italians as well, yes, I think the Italians and the French started it. The English adapted it and carried on, and I think now the Americans have taken these new techniques and stopped making films that are conventional and really taking the lead again. I hope they are.
I have a feeling that you prefer location shooting for a very good reason.
Well, you know, I don't think life is lived in studios. Studios are full of charming people worrying about their billing. And, you know, life is lived where it's lived, and if you can go into real places and real rooms and real castles, they're there. They've been created by people living in them, and why not?
Mr. Winter, you no doubt have some German people on your crew, don't you, here?
Oh, yes, we have a lot of German people on the crew.
How are they as opposed to, say, Italian crews or even English crews?
Well, I've never worked with an Italian crew.
They speak German, though.
I was going to say that. They speak, we make them speak English, actually. One of the actors came and said, why is everyone speaking English? I said, because I don't want anyone talking about me behind my back.
Hello.
Oh, that went dark, but it went light.
It's all right. It really
Must be
doesn't
all
hurt.
right, no.
With American technique, we can build this thing back up again to the sun.
I think, you know, that Germany hasn't had the great thrust of filmmaking that you were talking about. German films have not been of any stature since the war. But we're mostly British. I really can't give an assessment of the German technicians at all, because most of our technicians are British.
Well, I want to tell you for myself, time is running short. There's been a most wonderful stay watching the Hannibal set, and it's an experience. It's starting with the explosion in the morning and this meeting here tonight. I appreciate being here, and I'm going to tell the folks in the States who know me, where I come from, that it's a picture that the family can see, and that's important too.
Well, it is a picture the family can see, no doubt of that. I hope they see it.
You better believe it, mine will.
I hope you've got a big family.
That passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Winter.
Very good, right?